Good morning. It is Saturday, April 2nd, 2022, and welcome to the next episode. Is this the fifth episode?
I lost count.
I don't know. We're past counting now. We've ran out of fingers and toes, apparently, or at least don't want to use them. They're a poor abacus. Anyway, welcome to the next episode of Toilet Talk with Dina Lynn,
Hello.
where
Good
side butt
morning.
is a thing and shit gets real. We just need to get that out of the way first thing. Anyway, Dean and I were sitting here talking about different topics that we could go into, and boy, there are lots. From white supremacy to conflict resolution to twin flames to, gosh, and all sorts of different things happening in the world.
Anything and everything.
Anything and everything. And at some point here in the near future, we would actually like to go into what our relationship has been like, and kind of the steps and individual realizations that we've had over conflict resolution. But
Yeah.
I think
we'll touch on a little
Yeah,
more
we'll-
relationship in this particular topic today.
Yeah.
Oh, there. Look at the audience. Yeah, we will. The whole twin flame dynamic is an interesting one. That so we want to talk about that, generally speaking.
what
and
we've
get into
discovered, what we've dealt with, what
yes.
we've,
all of that.
all of that. So anyway, I am actually going to let Dina Lynn take it away because
am I
she
gonna
is,
say this?
well, she is the host of this show, the hostess with the mostest on the
I'm on the
toilet
special
on the throne. Yes.
No, I see. Although this is not a warmed up toilet seat, this is an ancient Victorian toilet, so it does not have a bidet nor a.
I was gonna say we can get you a heated bidet seat for it to put on it.
Oh.
Anyway.
So tempting. So tempting. So I did a talk a year ago about the dark side of twin flames because I had experienced something that was
Dark side you will come to.
and there's no cookies on the dark side of twin flames. Not a single cookie was offered to me the entire time. I want you to know. But I got sucked into something that was unpleasant at best and disillusioning, and left me feeling a lack of safety in the world and trust within myself. And I had to do a lot of work with two therapists to get to the place where I could trust me again with that. So prior to all of that, my understanding of twin flames comes not from YouTube's or from other humans. Well, a particular human, Plato, who wrote about this dynamic about 2,500 years ago. And when I originally read what he had to say about it, it resonated for me. There was something about it that had a sense of there's something true in the soul level, the cellular level. And I found it intriguing. And I'd always felt like there was another part, a person who would fit me, match me, and one day I would meet this person. And in my case, being heterosexual, this person would be male to complement my femaleness. And there were many times along the way I would wonder, is this person it? But I really didn't start getting into the understanding of it until I was going through my first divorce 12 years ago. And I found it intriguing, the idea that, once upon a time, there was the all, the singularity, source, the divine, God, whatever you want to call it. And he, she, it, she, he, it, that's it. And it's fun if you say she, it. It's just kind of fun to refer to the divine that way. Wanted to know itself. But you can't know yourself without someone else to relate to. We learn about ourselves in relationship. We know that as humans, but it comes from the divine, wanting to know itself.
Some of us know this as humans.
Some of us know this as humans, yes. So the myth, which doesn't mean false, it means a story about truth in a mythological form. The myth of the twin flame dynamic is that the all became the many in order to know itself in a multitude of forms and experiences. And this ties into reincarnation, if you buy into that. It ties into the multiplicity of individual human beings and everything. But on the human level, there were split after split after split. So there would be a cluster of souls. Think of a tree. And so a major branch, perhaps the twigs at the end of the branch, would be a cluster of souls that would choose to interact with each other incarnation after incarnation, lifetime after lifetime, playing different roles with each other. A mother and child might have a reversal, or might be friends, and might even be enemies. Because in order to learn some things in life, we have to have someone who loves us enough to do something to us to help us to learn a thing. If I want to learn forgiveness and authentically learn it in an embodied kind of a way, not a conceptual way, then I have to have someone who loves me enough to betray me so that I can learn forgiveness. And there's so much to go into with that, but that's the basic idea. And then the final split, think of the yin-yang symbol, the masculine and the feminine. Two souls that complement each other, that fit together in this union, that agreed to live separately, even in different lifetimes, with one incarnating and the other being a guide to help the one who's incarnated go through things. And then at some point in a lifetime, they come back together again to learn the really difficult things that everything else prepared them for. And there's more, but I'll let Robin add in what he wants to add in at this point.
Well, what was the quote that we have heard here recently?
I got it.
You know the one I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give it back, because I'm going to like completely and utterly, screw it up. So
well, I'm going to have to give a paraphrase. It's basically the joy of coming apart so that we can come back together again. So it's unity and diversity.
It was the divine experiencing the grief of splitting apart so that it can experience the joy of coming together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's many different ways to say that, and many deep spiritual leaders have said such a thing over the years. But it's that paradox of needing to be two complete whole entities, and yet long for union to be more than whole, like super whole. Words, it's ineffable. Words kind of fail at it. And I believe there is some validity to this, but I'm also troubled by some of what passes for the extremely romanticized, light and fluffy version of twin flames that unfortunately can lead to a lot of heartbreak and even abuse.
Well, it's in my experience. So as I have not done the reading that Dina has about the origin of twin flames and Plato's take on it, and then all of the different history behind the kind of ideas that have come since then, or even previous to Plato. I don't believe that this is an idea which is limited to Plato or the last 2,500 years. It's probably something that's been around for ages and ages and ages, since we first started having the ability to comprehend something beyond our physical body and start seeing or experiencing the divine. However you'd like to define that, whether it's a scientific definition of something more than what we can see in Newtonian physics and going into the quantum realm, or experiencing the quantum realm, spooky action at a distance, things like that, or going all the way into even cultish beliefs, which tend to be very specific about what you must believe, how you must believe it, and how you must practice it with any given guide or guru. But my general experience of it is that we often seek out this other part to complete ourselves out of a need to fill in whatever kind of personal trauma or experiences we've had, which leave us feeling alone, abandoned, empty, in pain, and we want it to be fixed because who wants to live a life of pain, right? And there's some of us, but
that's the nature of a codependent connection, which is a valid stage of human development. An infant is totally dependent upon the mother for security, for food, for humans cannot survive. We are born still kind of neonatal compared to other animals that get up and run, moments after birth. It takes us a good year before we can even become ambulatory, and then much longer before we're self-sufficient, whereas other animals, including mammals, are
pretty self-sufficient off the bat.
They need a bit more, but they're not as vulnerable and dependent as we are. So that codependent stage is valid, required, necessary. However, and it's also necessary in the initial stage of when we first start begin to have a relationship with another human being, a romantic, sexual sort of relationship. We go through a codependent stage where we can say things like, I need you, and the need feels like a survival need. I can't live without you. It's a
crutch.
Yes. And the fear of, if this person is taken away, I have nothing to live for. And it's a false notion, but it feels damn true to the person who has not yet resolved at least a significant portion of their own internal unresolved childhood issues.
Well, what we end up doing, or what I've ended up doing, is I've ended up, realizing that need that's being filled by another person shows me something that I am lacking, or that I have.
You believe you're lacking.
That I'm lacking in the ability to access, in the ability to currently in the moment make for myself, or create for myself, or find in myself. And so we can use that in two ways. We can either decide that we're going to want to remain codependent, and we want to remain in that relationship where we require the other person to fill this emptiness, which is ultimately, at least in my experience, and I can't speak to everybody else's, so take this as my experience and my experience only, is going to be an endless process where you pour water into a never-ending hole. It's just never going to get filled because somebody else just doesn't have enough to give us when we have this empty spot that we aren't willing to look at and start on filling for ourselves. So the other option then is to use that as a cue to really start looking at what we need to change internally, or what we need to discover internally, so that we have the ability to stoke our own flame, to create or to fuel our own flame. Because if we don't have a flame, if we can't fuel our own flame, then how on earth can we meet a flame when we're just a dead, dry stick of charred wood? I mean, maybe they can ignite that, and that's a possibility, but it's still our responsibility to look at maintaining that, and then starting to burn brighter, so that when we come together, we create an amazingly beautiful form of energy, which is unique, which is the coming together of two individually and distinct flames or energy patterns, but then can also separate and recognize our own beauty and our own power and our own ability to do so much with our own energy before coming back together. I mean, I don't know, what do you think?
So as you were saying that, I was seeing the image, much like you put on your Facebook post. Go to Robin Wengert and you'll see the lovely image, the blue flame and the orangey red flame coming together. And think about when you actually have two candles, one lit here, one lit here. I'll do this.
Would you like to get you? We should have had props.
I know, we have no props. So pretend
no
this
props
is on
for
fire,
props.
and this is on fire. Each of them has a flame. I mean, you know what it looks like to look at a candle flame, and when you bring them together, it's the same size flame. It's not that it got bigger. And more importantly, when you take them apart, they don't have half a flame. They each still have a full-size flame. So when we've gone through the codependent stage where I need you and I need you to be a certain way because I need you to fill up this hole inside of me and make me feel alive because I don't feel alive by myself. When we're in that stage, we can get damn angry at the other person for not doing what we think we need, that we're not giving ourselves, which we can only give ourselves. We're expecting the other person to feed us and fuel us. And so much conflict happens when we're expecting the other person to give what they cannot and never could give, that we have to give for ourselves.
Well, I think that they actually can give us something, and that is really the gift of reflection,
Sure.
of adding energy or triggers, right?
Triggers are gifts.
You know, so we're not saying that other people, or at least I'm not saying that other people don't contribute to our lives. I don't think that this idea of separation is nearly as true as our society these days, especially Western society, thinks it is. You know, in America, the land of the independent and free, where independence has taken on this toxic need to do everything by oneself, which leaves a hole which we try and fill with the ideas like twin flames and soulmates and soul partners, or however you want to put the phrase. We're denying one aspect of ourselves to try and fuel this independence, and it's leaving us hollow and dry.
Well, it's another paradox. It's because
Yes.
we need
Paradox is in truth, and truth is in paradox.
Yes. So this codependent state is not sustainable for an enduring, healthy relationship for either the individuals within it or the union. And then there needs to be a time of discovering independence, whether that's
Right.
within a particular relationship or within the span of several relationships. There comes the time for each person to mature into the state of independence with a sense of, I don't need another to survive. I can do these things for myself. But within that, we can do, like Robin described, the nation of the United States has a very independent personality for a nation, and it's missing the sense of collaboration. So the next
Interdependence.
Yes, the next stage is interdependence, which you can't jump from codependence to interdependence. You have to go through independence because you have to recognize yourself as a whole being, but then to long for coming alongside another whole being and creating something that's exponential, that neither could do on their own, but there's no sacrificing of each autonomous, independent person. It's bringing all that you have, all that you are, to the other. And it's not like, okay, now we've arrived, because there will be more growth. There's more stuff to look at. There will be more triggers. There will be more of all the stuff that only another person willing to do their work, having proven they will do their work, that they can do, coming together. And then the two of them who are dedicated to their own work will no longer expect the other to fulfill, but can help each other grow in a way that they could not have in that codependent stage.
Right. So if you're just watching this and know nothing about our history together, then let me give a really, really brief overview, and I'm sure Dina will chime in, but it's like, we don't want to make this a long drawn out thing. I don't want to make this. She might want to make this a long drawn out thing, but I don't want to make this a long drawn out thing.
Size matters.
Size matters. Yes. Anyway, so Dina and I met online through a dating company about what is it now? 8.5 years.
Yes.
8.5 years ago, and we. It was intense. We moved in together after 6 months, and went through the throes of dealing with each other's traumas and codependencies, completely blind to how we were affecting each other.
Like, what the hell is going on?
Right, or what we were doing to ourselves.
And we thought we'd done a shit ton of work. We had done a shit ton of work. We thought it was shocking that we could have had that much struggle given what each of us had previously gone through and worked on.
Right. We had both come into the relationship going like, okay, we've done our work. We want our good relationship now. Screw this other unhealthy shit. We want a really good, decent relationship. We got a good relationship. So we've gone through several different iterations of our relationship. The first initial relationship, we then split up, moved out to our own separate places again, helped each other get over ourselves. That backfired. We got back together, moved in together, got married, and for about 2 years we tortured each other with our trauma.
Unending conflict,
unresolved. Yes, unending.
It was brutal. So much love and so much pain all at once, and wondering, and getting lots of help from lots of people, and feeling stuck
Right.
in unresolved conflict, which is miserable.
Well, and not only stuck in unresolved conflict, but it felt to both of us abusive.
Yeah.
It really, really, really did. And there were probably aspects of that in there because we didn't know how to talk to one another. We didn't know how to talk to our pain. We didn't know how to listen, and we didn't know how to communicate well.
But we thought we did. It's like, why aren't our skills working? Where are the tools that we've been trained in?
We'd been trained as mediators. We'd taken nonviolent communication stuff. We had done shamanic work.
Yep. We were not lightweights. Yeah. We were just befuddled as to how could we have this much love and this number of trained skills and still be stuck in pain and lonely with each other, but lonely because we missed each other. We couldn't seem to find the real us in each of us. We get glimpses, and it wasn't all torture, but it was
what we were missing. Hard. Yeah, what we were missing was that piece where we could fuel our own flame.
Right.
And we kept on missing the mark on trying to do the work to bring that out of ourselves. So after a particularly nasty breakup, after our marriage, which was a little over a year ago. We both
2 years ago, almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years ago. Wow, how time flies. So after a particularly nasty breakup, we spent about a year apart. The first 6 months or so was with almost no communication, and we both ended up having to learn a lot of lessons and do a lot of internal examination. And finally, we kind of got to the place where we could fuel ourselves, where we're okay being alone, where we're okay being ourselves and really truly taking care of our own lives.
And we discovered a different level of self-work, which was shadow work, which is all the work I had done previously for decades was the tip of the iceberg, the part that's above the water, the part that's conscious. The unconscious is the 90-ish% of us that is in the dark, and all of that motivates us. Out of that we manifest our lives feeling as if someone is doing it to us instead of it being ourselves. Carl Jung says, until you make the unconscious conscious, that 90% that's hidden, will direct your life, and you'll call it fate. And we had to do I don't think that work's ever done, but we had to do enough of it to recognize that it was a reality.
Well, and if you put it in the context of fire and twin flame, then when you are a candle or when you are a flame and you don't have the ability to fuel yourself, everything is dark. There is no contrast, and you can't see anything about yourself or your surrounding, which will give you the ability to do your own work. Once your flame starts to ignite, or once your flame starts to grow, there's a lot more contrast. You start to see the shadow. You start to see where you can do your work.
You've got the light you can take into the basement of your psyche and look around and say, oh, and to own it, to say, oh, this is in me. They triggered it, but even that's a gift, an invitation for healing, to take that light that you cultivated yourself because you had to, and then to take that light and look around in the dark and recognizing, oh, this is mine, oh, this is mine, oh, this is mine. And it's hard to look at some of that stuff. The shadow isn't always pretty. It's powerful, and there's always a gift to be found. So it's about taking something that we're afraid of, ashamed of, in denial about, bringing it home and becoming even more whole, ever incrementally ever more whole, because this shadow work doesn't end. We don't arrive.
Right. So, the development of your own flame is key to really being able to discover your shadow, the stuff that's going to get in the way of bringing two flames together. Because in my opinion, if you bring two flames together and you haven't done the shadow work, then all you're doing is adding a false light to the shadows that you don't want to look at.
Right. Well, the brighter the light, the deeper the shadow. So we can, interestingly, if you have a flame and I have a flame, we can come at a thing and see it from two different sides, shine light on more than one aspect of it, and then we can both see that thing.
Right. There's
better.
there's a lot of different dynamics that can go into that metaphor.
Yeah.
If the flames are far apart, then what's in the middle won't be able to be seen with the shadow.
So we have to get close enough, be willing to.
We have to be able to circle, but we still have to be able to focus on our flame and the shadows that creates first. Because if you bring somebody else in, some of that shadow disappears under the light of somebody else's being.
Then there's also the reality that fire
burns.
Yeah, that it's painful, and that it's potentially dangerous.
Yeah.
The intimate relationship is not necessarily safe, because safe means
no, it's not
certain,
safe,
predictable, and controllable, and an intimate relationship is none of those things. And if you have a close one, whether we can say definitively this is a twin flame relationship, this is certainly the closest, most significant relationship I've ever had. I've not experienced this level of growth,
or transparency,
or pain.
Yeah. Because
if something is that close and has that much potential, the ability to wound each other, whether accidentally or intentionally, and most of it is unintentionally. Most of the time, when we lash out in our pain, it's not to hurt the other person, it's to protect something that's wounded within ourselves.
Right. So actually I want to pick up on that really quick, because I think this is a really, really important, realization, within the metaphor of the flame. So when we're in a relationship where we're doing our own work, that doesn't mean that the other person can't bring their light, bring the flame to the soul searching and shadow work of the other person. I have found myself recently in a place where I had to do some really deep diving on personal addiction, and it's been really hard to look at. We'll go into the details of it in another episode. I'm sure we will, because it's an important issue and it's been an important topic. But right now, I found myself willing and able to start looking at my own personal dynamic with an addiction. And I've been in a lot of pain with it. And finally, when I could sit down and say, I need to look at this, and I started looking at it, what I could do, because I'd seen it, because I was recognizing it, because I was bringing it into my own light, I could then go to Dina and I could say, Dina, I need your help to face this. I need your light to help me examine it more, especially in terms of what it means in a co-dynamic, in an interdependent relationship. Right. But I had to recognize it first before I could then invite her light in to help me deal with the aspect of sharing it.
Yeah, you had to take the significant risk of revealing something you felt shame about.
But that was embracing my own power before I could bring hers into it.
Right, exactly. You have to see it yourself. You have to look with your own light first, and then to realize, like I'm not a huge fan of 12-step programs overall, but the steps have wisdom, and the first one is admitting we are powerless, that this thing is ruling at least a part of our lives.
Right.
And to be able to say that to another person, when we reveal something we've had shame about, it de-shames it, and then we're both looking at it with both of our lights, and then it's not as scary,
right? Because
we're seeing it in more light, and we're able to look at it with reality, rather than when you're holding it by yourself, you're only looking at it in the darkness, and you're afraid to really look.
Right. But if you invite somebody in who hasn't done their work, who has a flame which isn't burning bright or isn't burning at all, and they're just wanting to be codependent with the twin flame relationship, then all you're doing is adding more burden to yourself, and they're not contributing to the real healing that can come when your flame is burning bright enough to examine your own shadow.
If they're just a smoking embers, is that where we get the phrase of blowing smoke up your ass?
Well, there we go. Well, but yeah, I mean, so I think that's a really important thing. So anyway, that's my contribution for the moment.
I like that. I think that helps a lot. It's we're not saying to those of you who believe that you're in a twin flame union that it isn't true. What we're trying to do is to bring it into a more practical, a little more grounded, a little less light and fluffy, and a lot more self-responsible way of looking at it, because it's not about happily ever after. It's about healing ever after. It's about really becoming responsible for yourself and with, not for, but with another person. And it's a powerful thing. It really is. And it's never an excuse for justifying abuse, bad behavior. There's a lot of people who are
projection
coming up with really shitty stuff from their partner because they're saying, well, they're my twin and they're part of me and they
or
can't
soulmate or whatever,
right.
Yeah.
We're responsible for being both kind and truthful with each other. You know, I love the quote, you know, truth without kindness is a weapon, and kindness without truth is vapid. And we need both, with ourselves and with another. And I'm not sure what to say to wrap all this up, because
well, I mean, the bottom line for me is that and it's a qualifier I like to put on everything that, you know, I try and put out, is that these are my experiences. I can't speak for Dina. You know, she would probably admit to these being her experiences. In our shamanic world, we often use the phrase, take the truth that works for you and leave the rest. So if there's something in here which works within your belief framework, then wonderful. If it's contributed to something that feels true to you and is helpful, I hope it does. But these truly are our own experiences. We can't speak for you. We're not saying you should believe this. Well, maybe you should, but but no, truly, it's, you know, this is what we have to contribute, and we hope that something of our experiences can help you navigate the world of spirituality, of love, of lust.
We're shining our light on what we've seen in our own lives. We're shining our light toward you, saying, you shine your light in your life and in your relationships. It's all we can do is inspire you to live your own truth out and find what works for you as an individual, for you in connection with another. And
we want to see you develop your own flame.
Yes.
So that you may meet with others.
Yeah. Let your little light shine.
Yeah. And in so being able to meet with others on the same level.
Yep. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've said all we can possibly say about this for now.
For now. So.
Because my butt's going numb.
Oh. So on that note, we hope you have a wonderful Saturday, or whenever it is you happen to see this. And, well, good luck. And feel free to reach out, shine on, and we wish you all the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.